Hi everybody. I am at my mom's house today and I've asked her to do a short little tutorial to show you guys how to watercolor. She is an art teacher and she has taught me to not be scared of these open images that you have to color in. I always stamp them with the Stays On, which is waterproof. It won't run when you start using the wet blender pens. And Mom, if you'll move that over. The inks, how I use them is I push down on the pad like this and I open it up and we use the ink that's on the inside of the lid. So my mom usually uses a paintbrush, but she's going to use the blender pens to show you how to do this.
Are you ready?
Yes, I think I'm ready.
Hi everybody. This is our little girl that we're going to blend, that we're going to try to shade tonight. I think this is a fairly simple one. I'm going to try to show you how to change, when I teach high school art classes, we call that values. We go from a dark value to a light value. And it doesn't really matter which direction you do it. You can do it, dark at the bottom and light at the top. I think it's kind of nice sometimes if you shade from one side to the other. The light causes the edges to be light and the back sides to be dark. So what we're going to try to do is on each little section we're going to try to create 3 values or 3 shades, a dark, a medium, and a light. I'm going to start off with the red part on this little girl's red velvet jacket, and I'm going to
We're kind of tag teaming this.
use the blender pen. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to put the dark parts underneath anything that might be casting a shadow, or around the little fur part here and on the back side of this. Now, Erica's taught me with these pens to kind of wipe them off. And you have to work kind of quickly, I think, to keep the edges soft. You don't want to have any hard edges on this. And if I rub some of this off on my sheet of paper over there, I can get some, I take off the dark red and I get the lighter. Now when I do that, we see a little bit of blending, but what I like to do is now I've created 2 values. I'm going to go back and pick up the dark red and I'm going to make some darker spots on here. And I tell my students, my high school students all the time, when they're shading, to exaggerate everything, because everybody has a tendency to overblend and it ends up being all the same color. So I put a little bit of the dark red there, I'm wiping the blender pen off, and I'm moving it around, and I'm leaving it almost white on the top. I'm going to go back now, put a little bit of the dark red right here, maybe add a few more places of dark red. Also notice that when you have 2 pieces right there together, make one of them light, one of them dark. Usually the one behind is the one that's dark, but it doesn't have to be like that. Now you can see we have different values. Now I'm going to clean the blender pen off, and I'm going to do the little, what I interpreted as white fur edging on the coat, and I'm going to pick up this beautiful
Tempting
turquoise. I like that. And I'm going to put just some of this dark color here. On this stamp, it's got some little hatched lines on here, so you can kind of tell where the shading is supposed to be. I'm wiping this off really well because I don't want this to be real dark, and I'm just blending those edges. What I don't want is a hard edge. I call those soft transitions when we're shading, and you can see where it changes gradually from dark to light and then to white on here. And this little piece is in the back, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker. Wipe off the blending pen. I don't want too much dark on this. I'm going to go back, put a few little strokes here. It's still kind of damp, so when you put that dark on there, it kind of fuzzes out. It doesn't leave a dark line. Her little leggings are going to be this dark color, this blue color as well. And like I said, exaggerate. Leave more light than you think you need, because you can always go back and make it darker, but you can't go back and make it lighter.
And what did you tell me, Mom, about where to make things darker?
Well, I always think the underneath sides of things, you have to think where the light is coming from. I didn't want to get that complicated, but the light's usually coming from above somewhere. So the parts of your little person or whatever you're shading that are closest to the light source are lighter, and the underneath sides are darker. For instance, if the light was coming from up here, this would be lighter, and down under here would be darker. And once again, if you've got two things that are side by side, usually make the one in the back a little bit darker, if that helps. And you know, most people don't really look at it and go, oh, your shading's in the wrong place. It's just fun to get two or three different at least three different values, a dark, a medium, and a light value on each piece.
The thing I always try to think of is what's underneath, like her armpit and underneath her, her arm, underneath the edge of her jacket. Those are the things I try to make darker, where the shadow would be.
And this thing right here would be casting a shadow right here. This would be light against dark right here. This might be have a little shadow from the bulging out of that little fur, but you don't even have to know that much. Just get some different values on there. Now I'm going to do her. I'm going to do her face, and Erica doesn't have all of her supplies here. She doesn't have a beigey color for the face, so I kind of played with this, and I used her Daffodil Delight. And over here I'm kind of mixing that and the pink together.
Regal Rose.
And I've got kind of a. I'm just going to put a little bit down on the bottom. Like we said, the bottom side is darker. I'm wiping off the blending pen, and I'm spreading that around a little bit. And then I'm going to pick up some of the pink. I don't want too much of it. I'm going to kind of rouge on some pink on her face, maybe put a little bit right there. And then I'm going to do this little Christmas tree. I love this green. It's called Old Olive. And you can see that the tree has different layers. It's got branches out here and branches on the edges. I'm making the edges darker. You can see where I'm doing that, and underneath here I'm going to make this a little bit darker as well.
And you're using watercolor paper that is your own, and I usually just use Whisper White cardstock. I think it works pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think with this blending pen, and then I'm going to go back and just put a few more real dark places. It's always nice on some things just to have some pops of dark. The little pops of dark will make your lighter pieces look lighter. Now, on this little wagon right here, it's square. It's not rounded like her body. So I'm going to take this red, and on one side, because it is a geometric form, that's going to be all one shade. And then I'm going to wipe my pen off. And this other side, as it goes around the color, will be another lighter tone. And I think, is there anything else I need to do there?
No, thanks, Mom.
But be sure that you exaggerate some of those lights in the beginning, because in the beginning everybody keeps blending and blending and blending, and when they get through it all looks the same. You also can take a darker color. If you had a darker red, I guess Stampin' Up! Makes a darker red.
Cherry cobbler.
You could even take cherry cobbler and touch a few of those little dark places. Even if I took the blue, maybe it might even darken that. See how that darkens it a little bit and adds another.
I'll try to be brave enough to do that, Mom.
And adds another little dimension
But
to
it
it.
worked good for you.
Okay.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.